Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to change the world one brave word at a time. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing authors of a new book we have coming out, The Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self-Care, 25 Tools for Goddesses. Yeah, this book is juicy, y'all. And I can't wait to get started asking all of my authors today these beautiful questions and getting into the conversation. But I'd really love to kick this off by giving a huge thank you to Anna Pereira, the founder of the Wellness Universe, who put this stellar author cast together. And really, Anna, thank you so much for your love and your support and your guidance. We wouldn't be here without you. You have an incredibly big mission to change and help the world. And the people that have come into this project are amazing. You're about to hear from them. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Hi, Laura.
I'm excited to get this going. Okay, so I have with me today Angela Aurora Medway Smith is Cariad, I'm going to try it. Cariad Spiritual. I think I got it, which she told me means love in Welsh. Cariad, right? I didn't know that. I learned something new today. She is the practical mystic, internationally renowned spiritual channel, healer, clairvoyant, coach, and teacher who enables beautiful souls like you to soar, aligning to their soul's path. Birgit Luders is a master herbalist, iridologist, and wellness coach. Leah Skirdahl is an energy healer who guides women leaders to up-level their stress response, improve their relationships, and expand their impact. And Nicole Batiste is an intuitive, certified, holistic, and functional medicine health coach with a passion for helping her clients realize just how powerful they are, specifically focusing on their emotions, mindset, and nutrition health. Y'all understand the badasses I have in this Zoom room today? I hope you do. Okay, so Angela, you're going to start the party off today. Tell us about the chapter that you wrote.
Thanks so much. I just want to say what an honor it was to be selected as part of the author team. I am beyond excited. I'm really, really excited. So I've written chapter 13, which is the Rainbow Waterfall, clearing negative energy in 2 minutes. The story behind it is something that's really, really close to my heart. All of us, every being on this planet is thrown enormous life challenges. And the challenge that I've talked about in my chapter has got to be one of my top 3 challenges. And I share about the story about that challenge and how I was completely broken, put myself back together and rose. And then I have a beautiful tool to share as well.
So I love your title, by the way, and I want to hear just a little bit more about the rainbow part.
Okay. So, in a nutshell, we are not just these physical beings, we are energetic beings, and as such have an energy body, which is a rainbow body. And so if you think about the chakra system, the energy points in our body, they are the colors of the rainbow. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And the tool I share shows you how to access these colors and use them in a way for clearing the negative energy, and then download energy to recharge and protect yourself. And literally, you can distill this into 2 minutes and run off to the restroom during your work time. I've been giving this tool to my students and clients for over 30 years, and they love it.
That's really fantastic. Cool. Yes, that's so awesome. I love how you all are offering practical tools, but I love how you're describing that with, you can go run off and you can do it when you need to. That is practical. That is like real life. Like we need to be able to do these things when we need them, right?
Mm.
And by the way, I call that my rainbow wall behind me. I love having my colors, and color is a really interesting kind of therapy, isn't it?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I do a lot of work with the divine rays and the masters of the divine rays, but that's another story.
That might be a whole book, Angela.
It is a whole
I
book,
have a
actually.
feeling. Okay.
It's there over there. Yeah,
Beautiful. Awesome. What's the name of it?
it's called The Book of Many Colors, and
How did
it's
I know?
yeah, it's about awakening your soul's path with the divine rays. It's channeled, so not my book, it's the Book of the Masters.
Nice. Thank you. Okay, Birgit, we're going to move to you next. Tell us about your amazing chapter.
Okay, so my amazing chapter is called Balance Your Power, and find the balance between your emotional, spiritual strength. And the reason why I actually came up with that was because working with women, most likely as a wellness coach, 80 or 90% of my clients are women. I noticed that we sometimes get lost of understanding that we don't need to be on one or the other side, that we need to kind of balance our power much better. And the way I came up with that was also in a way with my own life. I come from, Europe, and it's kind of like this mecca of fashion. I don't know if you know that, but it's even this fashion week, and everything is about the beauty. And when I was young, I always wanted to be the tomboy, and I didn't understand that I needed to wear all those fancy clothes. And my mom was a seamstress, so I kind of always was rebelling against that feeling of like, why am I always having to dress up to feel like, myself? And so that was my journey, that I had to kind of figure out what is too masculine, what is too feminine, because in a certain point in my own life, then in the beginning, I was actually feeling like I had a little bit of a female body dysmorphia. And I just later on kind of gave myself that name because I was feeling too tall, and I had too big of a boobs from my own perspective because I wanted to be a tomboy. And so I kind of was like frustrated with myself. And through this process, I help women nowadays, even in my wellness coaching. A lot of time women come to me for wellness coaching because they don't think they're perfect, either like physically because they need to lose weight or think they need to lose weight, or emotionally they're being told that they're too emotional, especially with the PMS, right? And spiritually, we women have a very amazing intuition, and sometimes we're being told we're wrong, right? And so my chapter is really about that, to balance into the power of yourself. And it doesn't matter if it's too feminine or too masculine at that moment, because there's one thing I learned also from studying the energy of women, is that there was one guru, Pillai, I like him very much, that he says that the highest form of energy and power is actually not a masculine energy, it's actually feminine if you measure it. And I thought that was really amazing, because that exactly explains it. Well, we women can sometimes be very high empathic, but then also very strong like a warrior. And any woman who has children knows that other side, where we become like a warrior, like we will fight for the life of our children, and we will not wait till somebody else jumps in, because we will do it. And so this power can sometimes be good and bad, because like in my life, I was trying to be too masculine and I rejected my feminine side. Sometimes I meet women in my practice, they feel too masculine suddenly. They lost the feminine side, which is so sad too. They have very high, strong jobs, CEO positions, but then when they try to get pregnant, it's not working. So when I work with them in the wellness coaching field, I actually have to bring them back to realize that they have feminine energy and they suppress it. So that's really what my chapter is all about, finding the balance.
I love that. You're making me think that there can be so many interesting influences when we're a child for the masculine and feminine everything, the energy, the physical, the mental. And of course, I think you all are with me when I say, you know, you're presented with all of the challenges on purpose for divine reasons to come to the place that you are now, right? Because Birgit, if you hadn't had to really move through those challenges, maybe you wouldn't be teaching it now, right?
Exactly. And that's why I'm saying, like, because most people who see me, they're like, oh my God, you're so beautiful and you're perfect and you're like 5'9" and all that. And then meanwhile, they didn't even know how I was struggling with that. I didn't want to be whatever I was. I wanted to be the warrior. I wanted to fight people. I wanted to be masculine. I wanted to be the tomboy. But being like this, I was going from one extreme to the next. And I noticed that with all my women, and especially in the field of emotional aspects, a lot of women come to me and they tell me, oh, I have such PMS, and my husband tells me I'm too emotional and I'm crazy. And I'm like, you know what? There's one thing to be said, that we women have the chance to cleanse our feelings and emotions every 30 days. And that is really what happens, because we absorb all this negativity and we are just empaths. We don't say anything and we just kind of go with the flow. And then suddenly a week before our period, we just turn into this emotional wreck, because that's called cleansing. This is nothing to be ashamed of. And there's one thing that I always kind of envy of old times. I don't know, Laura, if you know about that, but in old times, there was a time it was called the period hut, or it was also called the red tent. So when we had those emotional flare-ups before our period and our period, we actually collected the women together in the village and we had each other's bags. And that's, you stayed in that tent for 3-4 days, right? And it wasn't because the guys wanted to get rid of it. I think the power was that actually the women wanted to support each other during those times that we are more sensitive. And I just love that idea, honestly.
I love that, Birgit. And actually, I've done a red tent event for young women. And
you did?
Yes. It was so cool. We gathered women together to be in that place of honoring each other and dancing, and we laughed and laughed. So it was really delightful.
Exactly. Yeah. And when I have a daughter, I have 2 daughters, 20 years old and 12. So when I kind of told them about it, they're like, that is so amazing. That is so great. Why are we not doing this anymore? Why isn't that existing anymore? Right. And this is really true. What it is that we women should kind of collect together and have each other's backs. And I also notice sometimes when I do wellness coaching that there's sometimes this like, oh, I want to lose 15 pounds because my friend, I want to like show her that I can be skinny. There's too much competition within us goddesses as well. And I think once we understand our own powers, I mean, this would be so amazing for the whole world too, because remember, we women actually responsible for the next generation, right?
You ladies are amazing. Thank you for keeping talking while I had my little coughing fit. Okay, so thank you, Birgit. This topic is juicy and loaded with goodness. And you know, anything we talk about today, we could probably sit and talk about for hours and hours. I love this topic. Leah, let's move to you. Talk about your amazing chapter, please.
I am so excited to share this. Chapter 7, The Art of Jazz Living, Overcoming Challenges with Grace, Ease, and Joy. And so I identify with what Birgit and Angela said, because I'm doing this amalgamation. My guidance was really clear that this is a time to bring the art of jazz living out. I've been working with this for 20 years, but now's the time that people really need it, because the last couple of years have been crazy pants. Really. So we can't live by, not that we could, but we try to live by a recipe. we try to live by that classical music score. I'll just play the notes and everything will be,
Yeah.
result will come out perfectly. But we're finding life is more like jazz and we have to improvise. And so jazz music is that combination of European classical tones with Afro-Latin rhythms, with that infused with spontaneity and improvisation. And that's kind of what life is like. So my chapter is that starting with the place of the infinity of the divine feminine and divine masculine coming into balance, just as Birgit said. And then out of this, where they cross the center, we step into that place of intuition, of creative innovation. And that's where we need to put some juice these days, because we need some we need some new thoughts, some new ideas, and that we can bring that into our daily lives.
I think that intuition is really the connection with it, and learning that language is really one of the marks of feeling like a goddess and being a goddess. Say a little bit more about that intuition for me.
Yes, so we can tap into our natural state of inner well-being, where we have that creative resource available to us. And we do that by, being fully present in our physical bodies and then tapping inward through the heart. Intuition isn't just a mind thing. It's not thought, it's a feeling. So where do we find the groove? Find that place of being in the flow, and then listening deeply. So intuition is more from the heart. Here, I'm trying to tap my chest here. More bring your attention from your head to your heart and listen with the ears of your heart.
Thank you, Leah. All right, ladies, let's move to Nicole. Tell us about your amazing chapter.
Good morning. My amazing chapter 23, Calming the Inner Mental Storm, How to Become Your Best Friend. I would say I was in the worst abusive relationship that anyone could be in, and that was the one with myself. I really degraded myself. I did a really good job of devaluing and not approving of myself from a very young age due to some very early childhood trauma. And so my chapter talks about how on the outside, I look just fine, but on the inside, there's just all this turmoil, this self-talk and everything. And I tend to encounter a lot of women who can relate to that, especially because I'm around the federal government a lot. I am retired military. And so, feelings are not always something that is encouraged to be addressed. And so creating an inner balance is where I have my chapter going towards, like becoming and accepting who you are, and then parts of you that can change that you don't like. How do you change it with self-compassion and self-appreciation and things like that? So that is what I go into with that chapter.
You're giving such a beautiful gift of awareness with what you're talking about. All of you are essentially, all of these beautiful chapters, both the stories and especially the tools, are helping people with awareness. And that one that you mentioned, Nikki, when you do that for yourself, there's, magical kinds of opportunities. Tell me a little bit more about that, how it played out with you.
As far as becoming my friend.
Yes, exactly.
So one of the things that before I became my friend, I would keep an arm's length away from people. I would minimize my time. If people invited me out, I always found a reason not to go. And it's not because I am an introvert, but that's not why I wasn't allowing myself to go. It's just my concern was they would eventually realize they didn't like me. And at some point I realized it was just me not liking me, and I was actually projecting that. Because I love to research and read and figure stuff out about the brain and mindset, I did a lot of research into like what was going on with me, and really just digging deep into that, and the liberation behind allowing the ability to allow and to survive emotions as I was working through my own stuff, realizing I could survive that, it liberated me and it empowered me, and it just motivated me and excited me, because I'm like, I can help other people do this and step into who they are. So I hope that answered your question.
Oh my God, I'm like writing my notes at like a mad woman here. And I'm going to repeat this for listeners. You know, at some point we think it's about others not liking us, but then you said, you realized it was you not liking you.
Mm-hmm.
And that little jewel is a life-changing one.
Thank you.
Yeah, big time.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. All right. So I have this next question for all of you. I'm going to start with Birgit. And we talked a little bit about intuition being one of the marks of a goddess, but Birgit, how else, what does it mean even to be a goddess for you?
So a goddess is for me as the complete balance of it. Like intuition for this in this question, for example, is for me of working with a lot of mothers who bring their children to me because the medical world has not taken them serious. So there is this big, huge mother intuition and instinct. A mother knows when something is not quite right with the child. Even if they go to their prime doctors and they tell them, no, nothing wrong. And they have this gut feeling, this intuition, and they do not stop until they have answers. And there's a specific one client of mine, she brought her baby to me with 12 months. And she had already 2 children before. And she said, this one is not thriving as good. And I know it's not, but all the tests and everything they're doing with him, they tell me that I'm just overprotective, that I'm wrong, but I know there's something wrong with him. And then so I worked with this child and instantly, towards changing the diet a little bit, figuring out if there was like allergies in there because he didn't gain weight as, like regular 12 months old. And we changed things around, but it turns out that after 2.5 years, he was actually finally diagnosed and it was autism. But because she came to me already with 12 months, he has developed correctly in his time period between 1 and 2 or 1 and 3 when they diagnosed him. So he has barely any signs of autism because that mom did not stop and did not wait until maybe the medical world figures something out. And this is what I'm trying to say to women, is your intuition is always right.
I love that so much. Yes. I grew up in a medical system where I learned that someone else had the answers to fixing me. So I was always looking for the doctor. And then when that didn't turn out so great, most times, right? You're forced to kind of look elsewhere. And I love how you talk about that.
And for example, think about it. The old wise woman was the woman who went outside to the garden or to the earth and start picking leaves and berries and figure out how to heal any kind of issues with their children. And that's called folklore herbalism nowadays. And it still has a value in this world. And we women are, have the ability to actually really bring it from the inside out. I think it's in every woman.
Yes, no doubt it is. Thank you, Birgit. Okay, so Leah, how do you think about being a goddess? What does that even mean? So in addition to intuition, what else?
I think a goddess knows who she is, so is fully present, body, emotions, mind, spirit, and also knows how to collaborate. That's one thing women do, is when we're in that balance of divine masculine and divine feminine, we know how to step outward and express our wisdom and our truth, and how to step back and allow the brilliance of others to shine, so we can create this group consciousness of higher awareness where everyone's voices are heard and honored. And out of that, we create something bigger, better, more magical, because that shared truth is better than what any individual voice.
Well, I mean, don't get me started on the big, badass collaborative energy, especially of these kinds of projects where y'all were coming together. The thing is that when people move from that competition mindset to collaboration mindset, you all know the opportunities that sit right in that shift, and everything gets bigger from there. It's beautiful, beautiful energy. I love that you use that as an example for this, Leah. I do believe that part of being a goddess is that you've made that shift. Yeah, nice.
And I think, unfortunately, we're being taught sometimes to be against each other. And
Yeah.
this is a good warning that, the goddesses should be together, help each other out. And I love that on you, Leah, what you said.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, Nicole, you're up next on this one. What would you add? What does it even mean to be a goddess to you?
Interestingly, Leah said a lot of what I was thinking, being just a deep knowing of who you are, and knowing that whatever you touch can turn into gold. And then helping others do the same, and teaching them that they are just as powerful as you are, and celebrating in others' ability to be who they are within themselves. So yeah, that's for me, just celebrating others and celebrating yourself without guilt, without pride. It's just a humble, I got this, so do you, let's do this. So
the energy of celebration is real also. It's, when you think about law of attraction and manifesting and the energies that we want to bring, conjure up, bring in, attract, all of the things, celebration is really one of my favorite. And it goes with the collaborative energy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, what else do you want to say about that?
As far as celebration and collaboration, I think it should be expected. So don't
that's good.
Don't be surprised when it happens. Embrace it, be present, and enjoy all of it.
Yes. Were any of you taught that if you can't be too much that way, can't be too loud, can't be too celebratory? If you're doing that, then we're going to shush you back down again, right? Yeah, I know you're shaking your head.
Well, I hadn't experienced that because I always kept myself quiet. Since I was battling that whole self-trust thing. So my place was to be quiet and be compliant, and everything would be okay. So I didn't have, that was encouraged because it wasn't discouraged. So, but as I got older and just started observing, I'm like, I see people who hesitantly pour into themselves and celebrate themselves. I'm like, you need to do that out loud.
Nikki, I love that phrase you just said, pour into yourself. Oh, I love that phrase.
Thank you.
Angela, what do you want to add to this? It's so hard to go last on this question, I know. What else would you add about being a goddess?
Well, everything that's been said already, plus it's about stepping into your own power and actually realizing who you truly are. We are all divine beings. We are all sparks of the divine. We have the ability, we have the capacity to shine, to soar, to move mountains. And, I really, truly hope that my little chapter will inspire people, because from the depths of despair, I moved mountains, not just for me, I moved them for thousands of people. And anybody can do this. We can all do this. We just have to decide that we're going to do it. We have to realize that we are these immense beings with this enormous capacity. God's goddesses, every single one of us, and we can do anything. We just have to decide to do it. And, obviously there are caveats in the highest good of all and harm of none. And, it's about also this web of interconnection, and you can make a huge impact in this world with your brave words changing the world. Every one of us can do it, and I just hope people listening to this podcast will realize that they can do anything they want.
Wow, I wrote this down from what you just said. Even from the depths of despair, we have the capacity to move mountains. Man, did I love that. Thank you, Angela. All right, I have another juicy question for all of you. So Leah, I'm going to start with you for this one. Healers and practitioners of awareness, and I think goddesses do that, learn what feels aligned. And I think being in alignment is really part of that feeling like a goddess, right? So for you, how do you know something is in alignment for you? What's the practice look like in your day-to-day?
That it starts with body awareness. And I do what I call body soul movement. So in the way that athletics or martial arts tell you that, you think about how to do something and then your body learns it. I allow my body in body soul movement to just observe. I mean, let my mind observe how my body wants to move. So for example, if I hold the awareness of something in front of me, and if like my throat constricts, oh, that's a no. That would be a no. And if I can breathe easily into like, okay, we're going in that direction. So I let my body really be that tool of awareness, because as Angela was saying, we're energy beings, and we are, when we're in that alignment of awareness of body, emotions, mind, spirit, that we know what we know, and our bodies are a first-hand tool to that awareness. Your body will inform you if you listen. Put up polish your antenna.
I love that you started this question off like that, because body awareness is absolutely foundational and profound game changer when it comes to knowing when you're in alignment or out of alignment. And the throat constriction is one of mine. A heart or chest tightness is also one of mine. And I've taught this exercise to clients where you kind of need to understand the language. You need to know your own. Nikki or Angela or Birgit might have another place in their body that it lights up or does something or feels a certain way, and then they know their language. And so if you're a listener and you're just developing this skill, it's great to make a cheat sheet, and over here is like, ooh, when something's a no for me, this is what shows up. And then when something is a yes for me, aligned, this is what happens. And then you can kind of, in the beginning stages of learning this skill, it's really good to understand that in all of the ways. So yeah, that Leah, this is one of the ones, like I could talk about this one all day long, because I think it's so important. Nicole, what do you want to add to that in terms of your particular way? How do you know when something's in alignment for you?
I feel like Leah and I are on the same wavelength. For me personally, it's literally the intuition. Like I hear distinctly a yes or a no. And learning to actually listen to that, because we do have free will. Learning to listen to that is the key part, because when I don't listen, I do observe things don't go exactly as I would have liked. So just getting that message and paying attention to the result when I listen or don't listen, And so that builds the self-trust piece of that. So that's how I work with that.
This is what I love so much about this. So if y'all are paying attention now, we're talking about actually hearing yes or no. And that is a whole nother sort of way to understand it, actually getting a word as a message. And I've heard people say that they hear it inside. I've heard people say they hear it from the outside. I've heard all sorts of things about this. So yeah, Nikki, thank you for adding that so that we could have an understanding of how that message can come in. And I loved what you said about the consequences of you ignoring it are a learning curve, aren't they?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So if we're paying attention a little quicker and we really follow the consequences, wow. I mean, that has been a journey for me, really powerful.
Mhm.
Nice. Okay, so Angela, how about you? How do you know you're aligned?
Intuition. Not just my body. I check in with my body every day just to make sure that I'm physically aligned and I'm paying attention to what needs sorting out on a physical level. But I've been teaching people to develop their intuition for over 30 years. And so my intuition is kind of a bit off the scale. I don't just get yes or no's. I actually have conversations with my guides. And I argue as well. So I really hear you, Nikki. I argue and I get told and I get slapped down. And literally, I get told, well, if you don't stop, we will stop you. And oh, well, there's a whole other stories I could go in and talk about there. But yeah, so developing your intuition is a really key element of being in alignment. Because with that intuitive connection, you're actually tapping into your higher self and your guides and whoever else that you want to be connected to. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, really.
And again, that y'all are you're building on each other so wonderfully today, because we have, well, just pay attention to how you're feeling in your body. Oh, pay attention to if you're getting a yes or no. Oh, you could actually have a whole conversation with that, with that energy, that guide, that angel, that, right? So, and this has been the journey of my spiritual journey, is to understand just what's possible. I love to repeat this, but these books and these amazing authors that are here with me today, we are waking the world up to what's possible for healing. And when Angela talks about intuition in this particular way, I want you all to know that these are skills that you practice and get better at, and then get really way more interesting as you practice, like having whole conversations and really, being connected to something that is way bigger than you. It's exciting, right? It's fun.
Yeah.
It's just, it's our birthright. We are sparks of the divine. We are all capable of developing our intuition to this level. There's nothing special about it. It just takes work, and for some people it kind of switches on like that. It did for me 35 years ago, literally switched on, and which was a bit scary. But for others it's a longer journey, and that just depends on you as a sentient being. We're not just this physical body. We're spirit, and we're soul, and it's about connecting everything. It's that alignment.
Yes, thank you, Angela. Birgit, what do you want to add for you into this conversation about when you feel like you're in alignment?
When I feel in alignment, I'm timeless. Like suddenly I don't feel like the clock is chasing me, or like an hour can take like 10 years suddenly when I'm not in alignment. And that's how I really know that this was not my path. And I also learned, because of that feeling of being timeless, when I'm in my element, that sometimes things can change. I can outgrow something that was in alignment with me a few years ago. And it's very important for women to understand you can change. You don't have to make a decision for being this one person for that many years and have the same interests. And that's exactly why I'm evolving constantly. You know, like there was the joke in the beginning when I was young, every 3 years I changed my profession completely. I went from bank manager to flight attendant, you know, to, and then finally when I hit herbalism, I was in alignment, and that stuck with me now forever. But the point is that can be the same thing with your emotions. Something that I liked maybe 10 years ago, I don't want right now, right? And that is alignment. And I feel like when we are timeless, we are in alignment.
I love that. I love that you remind us all it can change and that's okay. Actually, it's supposed to change. You know, that is the evolution, is that you paying attention to that change wherever the message is coming through for you, and really deciding to choose based on the alignment in the moment, not from 5 years ago or
Right,
even
because-
5 minutes.
And that's what I've noticed. Some people, like, you know, they get stuck with the same job for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. And they don't feel like that this is the reason why they feel stressed out, because everything becomes a matter of time not being in your element. And that can make them sick emotionally, spiritually, and physically.
Which is why this conversation is so important, y'all. So yes, we don't want to get to the point where we have to put out the fire literally in our body because we've been ignoring that, you know, for so long. I actually, you know, that's somebody's wake up call. There's a lot of people who get to that point and that's the switch. But what if we could not have to have it so difficult or get to that spot, right? All right, so I have another question, the last question for all of you. I'll move around to everyone for this. Nicole, I'm going to start with you for this one. What's something you'd like to share with our listeners today that'll help them if they're feeling a little less than goddess-like today? So kind of an easy entryway to shifting that energy.
Not judging yourself for not feeling that way. I always like to reference, remember when you first started driving a car and it was hard, but you kept at it anyway.
That's a good example.
And now you don't even, it's not even a thing, right? So things are hard until they're not. And so starting, and it actually reminds me of a post I did yesterday on social media. Every day that you keep going, you're closer to the finish line, right? So just keep going. Start somewhere, start small, and keep going from there. Don't look back, except this to celebrate how far you've come. But other than that, just start, trust yourself, and keep going. And be okay if you have to shift. I'm sorry you said one thing, but
it's hard, right? I know there's a million things. Well, I'll just repeat what you said too. Just you don't need to judge that you're feeling that way. That one was really key. What you just said. Thank you. Perfect. Okay, Angela, how about you? What would you offer for somebody?
I guess that every experience that you have, every relationship that you have, every challenge that you have, that makes you grow. And so, however rubbish you might feel, understand that what's made you feel rubbish, you can learn from and use it as an opportunity, a learning opportunity, so that you can move forward and not accept that. You know, I do life and soul alignment coaching, which is working on a really deep level with life, soul, and taking people really deep on this journey. And you know, one of the first things I say to people, what makes your soul sing? Remember what makes your soul sing, and just take yourself back to that place. Do something for yourself, I guess. but know
Yes.
that everything is a learning opportunity.
Remember what makes your soul sing. And then even in that moment where you can bring that into your mind and your heart and your soul, then the energy shifts right there. It's an instant one. Thank you. Birgit, how about you? What would you offer to someone who's feeling a little less than goddess-like?
So when I can only take it from my own example, when I feel less goddess-like, then I'm more a complainer, and then when I'm starting to complain, like the poor me, poor that, then I always remember my grandmother. She was this herbalist, and she got through 2 world wars, World War I and World War II, and she was the most uplifting and smiling person. And she said to me, there's always something else that you are happy about. Doesn't matter what situation. And I was just like, so when I'm in this like funk, then my cup is always half full. It's always half full, because there's, the most gurus say every day in the morning is a celebration because we woke up. And that's what I carry on from my grandmother, because I thought to myself, if she was happy, how can I be like unhappy right now? It's just like, of course you want to go through your unhappiness, like you want to express your emotions, but then there's a certain time you should shift back out again, because you can get stuck too deep in it, like in a mud. And that's when I'm remembering positive things that happened today, if I had something that was putting me down.
Yeah, perspective with the grandmother. And there's
Mhm.
always somebody or some perspective that will help you shift. It's with awareness, we have the choice to shift. So it's the awareness practice that's going to get you thinking of grandma when you need to.
Yeah.
I love it, Birgit. Thank you.
Mhm.
Leah, you're going to close out our party today. What would you offer somebody who's feeling kind of the rubbish?
Yeah. When on days when I am feeling less than goddess-like, breathe first. And then I toggle, like you can toggle between 2 computer screens. I toggle my awareness to something beautiful. I'll let my eyes rest on, oh, I love that color. Oh, I really enjoy the way the sun is reflecting on the microwave door, and I can see the trees reflected from the window behind me, and I just find something to appreciate. And that just inches me upward, uplifts me a little. And then I look for 10 things to appreciate, and that uplifts me a little bit more. And then pretty soon, like, okay, I can do this.
Mhm.
So it's that first little nudge, just as the others were saying, that nudge back into, okay, we're going to uplift this just a little into the now, into the next now moment.
That's perfect.
And we can be on the upward spiral.
Can I just add something there, please, Laura? There's a song that I used to sing to my children. We sing a lot in Wales. We're known for it. And it's always look on the bright side of life. And it's a silly song, but it works. And when you just sing it, you just laugh. So that helps too.
I think it's funny that Leah mentioned the sunshine, because that's my go-to song. Here comes the sun. Do 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 do.
I'm a
Anyone know
Beatles
that
girl
one?
as well.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, I like that.
I love that. Ladies, thank you so much. Thank you for what you do in the world and for being here to share it with everyone.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Yeah,
I appreciate
Amazingness
you.
and bringing all this out to the world.
So
Thank you.
for all of our listeners, remember that if you just scroll down into the show notes, I have all of these beautiful, brilliant, wise, amazing goddesses hooked up with their websites, okay? And you probably heard something today that shifted your perspective. So go explore, click on their websites, see what they have to offer. They have a lot of awesomeness to offer. And one of the missions of these projects is We put the book out. You have an amazing toolkit there, but then what, right? Then what after a book? Well, we have a community where you can come. Anna has the Wellness Universe Book Club where our authors are hanging out, and they're waiting generously for your next question. They're waiting for you to reach out about what they talked about today, and they're there for you to take that next step with. And I just think that is amazing. The community that we've built that is so heart-centered and is going to shower you, pour into you the compassion and the joy and the perspective sometimes that we need to make the shifts, right? So please go down and explore, and remember to join our live stream book launch party. It's coming up on December 7th, 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going to gather with all of the authors of the Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self-Care, 25 Tools for Goddesses. We'll have some fun giveaways that day. Lots of goodness. And of course, if you're listening to this after December 7th, well, that means you got to get over to Amazon and pick up your copy of the book, because it'll be ready. And maybe you are a wellness practitioner who's ready to share your brave words in one of our best-selling book collaborations. Well, I am ready to have that chat with you. Come over to bravehealer.com for that. And lastly today, everybody, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.